Okay, everyone, we're going to get started. So hello and welcome to our executive level webcast series, and welcome to Autodesk 2013. My name is Laura Guzman. I am Vice President of Marketing here at Microdesk, and I want to thank you for joining us here today as we take a look at the 2013 edition of Revit Architecture. In a moment, I'll be turning it over to today's presenters, but first, just a few logistics. In order to minimize any background distractions, you are all on mute for the duration of this session. We will not have time for Q&A today, but if you do have questions, please do feel free to enter them into that questions toolbar to the right of your screen, and we'll address those on a one-on-one basis after the presentation. We'll also provide you with our contact information, so if you have any other questions along the way, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to provide you with some more details. All right, so with that, I would like to turn it over to our first presenter, Mike DeLacy, President of Microdesk, to kick things off. Mike. Hi, everyone. It appears we're having a little bit of trouble with Mike's audio. Bear with me just a second, and we'll get him up and running. Apologies for the technical difficulties.
Okay, folks, sorry about that. So again, welcome to Autodesk 2013 and Revit Architecture 2013. Before we jump into the new features of the Autodesk 2013 release, a little bit about Microdesk. I think that most of you are familiar with us, but some background: we are an Autodesk Gold partner. We are also an Oracle Gold partner, and as of this year, we are Autodesk's North American Channel Partner of the Year. So being Channel Partner of the Year is some pretty great recognition by Autodesk of the work that we've been doing within the architecture, engineering, construction, and owner-operator space. From a logistics perspective, we have 12 offices. We have 7 offices on the East Coast that run from southern New Hampshire to Washington, D.C. We have our newest office in Chicago, and we have 4 offices in California that are in Irvine, Los Angeles, Fresno, and San Francisco. All told, we're a little bit over 90 consulting specialists and software developers, all focused on architecture, engineering, construction, and operations and maintenance. When we think about the Autodesk 2013 release, one of the messages that we want to get out there into the marketplace is how far technology has advanced over time. So when you look at our marketing materials, we're drawing an analogy between the automobile industry and the design software industry. So when you think about the cars that we were driving just a few years ago, they were big, they were clunky, they were not very well integrated with the rest of the world, and they were gas guzzlers. And now when you think about the cars that we drive, we're driving hybrid cars, electric cars that get more than 100 miles to the gallon. They are very connected. We use GPS systems to help us navigate. We stream internet music to our radios. The car technology in cars has come a really long way. We don't assume that a car from 1980 is pretty much the same as a car from 2012. We think the same way about technology, and when we compare or think about Revit Architecture 2009 and we compare that to Revit Architecture 2013, there are really significant differences and benefits in the newer technology. When we start to combine extended technology like cloud computing and what the cloud offers us, we're making huge leaps forward. some of the key takeaways we want when you look at the Autodesk 2013 product line, and I generally do talk about Autodesk 2013 rather than simply Revit Architecture 2013, because it really is a suite of products that develop a workflow for us. And within that suite, what we're finding this year is that the key takeaways are how well integrated these products are, how interoperable they are, and again, when we add in things like cloud-based computing and cloud-based storage, how collaborative these products are, and the fact that they're really having an effect on the processes we use to go about designing, constructing, and operating and maintaining buildings and infrastructure. So with that, I want to introduce our presenter for today, who's going to talk to us a little bit about Revit Architecture 2013, and he's also going to demo and show us some of the new features in Revit Architecture 2013. So Peter Marchese, he's a senior consultant here at Microdesk. He is a resident architect and a resident Revit Architecture, Revit structure guru. So Peter, I'll hand it over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Mike. So what we're going to be talking about right now is Revit Architecture 2013. And what I'm going to end up doing is talking about, not in too detailed or technical of a level, but in more of a higher level, just to go into it a little bit, some of the main new features. Now, these new features, just kind of breaking them down into 4 main groups. So I'm going to go over a couple of features regarding how the documentation has been updated or made a little bit more efficient and user-friendly. Content generation has been enhanced and given you some more features. The visualization side has actually gotten a good amount of attention as well, and collaboration. Now, one of the things that Mike mentioned was how the entire portfolio, all of Autodesk software, has really had a focus this year on integration and collaboration. So there's a reason why I'm leaving that one for last, because that kind of covers everything and brings everything back together. So to start with, I'm going to look at some of the new documentation tools. So with this one, first thing is searching. This is something that happens on just about every project. When you first start to use Revit, we're going to make new views, because every view of the model is a different kind of a view. I want to look at the first floor plan with color. I want to look at the first floor plan for code, for egress, for furniture. By the end of the day, you have one floor plan, and you might have 10 different views. Small building, not a big deal, but as your projects get bigger, you're going to have a lot of different views. And for something so simple, it's finally in there, the ability to search your project browser. So if you have a specific view that you need to work with, you're not having 20 different employees spending 20 minutes a day trying to find a view. So it might seem like something simple, but that time does add up. So this makes your workforce much more efficient in trying to get to where they need to get to do their work. From that, we have better visibility and display controls. Now, it might not seem like that big of a deal, but look at it from the AutoCAD days. One of the biggest issues was layer management and control of your views. Now that we're no longer in CAD, we're in BIM. The main emphasis there is on the information, but we still have to make sure things are showing up correctly when we print out our documents, since that's still the deliverable. So one of the things that this really benefits is the ability to really control and track all of my views, to make sure that all of my views are matched the way that they should be. So if I've got a drawing standard, things that should be applied, I now have more things that I can actually put into that template, and I can actually track that template's usage a little bit better. You can even see in the upper right-hand corner of this little image here, number of views with this template assigned. So now I can just track very quickly what is actually using this template to make sure that things are being done correctly. So it's just a couple of quick things that I can do to confirm that things are being done the way that I intended to be. Now again, I'm not going through every one of the features. I'm just hitting a couple of the key ones. When I get to the demo portion of this, I'm going to try to show a little bit more as well. So moving into the content generation portion of this. Stairs. This has been a big one. I've been using Revit since version 6. Since that, there have not been any updates to the stairs. So that slide that Mike showed you with the old car and the new car, that's pretty much the jump that this is starting to take. What this is actually doing is giving us the benefit of doing stairs like that, where you see it's more of a Y shape. Setting up something like this, where if you have precast construction, you can actually model, so you don't even have to detail it, you can actually model the connection between these very quickly. And a big gripe that a lot of people have had over the years with the stairs is that it doesn't look the way that they want, or it doesn't display the way that they want for the documentation sets. So it's giving us a lot more control of both the modeling aspect of this, the design aspect of this, and the documentation aspect. So this is something that they've gotten to, and it's actually definitely a good step in the right direction with giving us the freedom that we need to design the way that we want without having to resort to workarounds or very complex ideas. Now, sort of in conjunction with the stairs are my railings. Probably one of the main things with the railing is that you can actually preview what you're working on. So rather than just drawing sort of a purple line and finishing it, nope, that's not what I want. Go back in and edit again, nope, that's not what I want. I can actually preview the railing as I'm building it. So I can confirm that, yeah, that's actually what my design intent is prior to leaving my sketch mode. So it actually speeds up and makes my design process a little bit more efficient. In addition to that, I have more control over my parts. I can get very detailed very quickly and easily. And I have a lot more control over the path. Now, that image on the bottom right-hand side, for most users of Revit, that railing probably looks like a post, something you add to the end and then it just finishes or terminates. The thing is, a post is typically custom content. It takes time and ability to create this. So that right there is not a post. It's a user just going and sketching what he intends that railing to actually do. No having to go in and create custom content. No needing to make sure that every single user on the project team that's working on stairs has to have, you know, an advanced level of family knowledge. It's just picking it, drawing the path, and then finishing what you want. So it speeds up the actual design and documentation process and makes this much more fluid and much easier. Now, another one here is parts. Now, the idea of parts is not new to Revit. This was actually added a year or two ago. What is new are the different things that you can do with the parts. I can actually merge different parts together. And this is something I'm actually going to be showing during the demo. So if what I want to do is have a corner that's essentially maybe precast, I'd have to actually draw this as 3 separate walls, because I can't really draw and join 2 separate parts together, but this is something I can do now. You can also make more parts, and I can also modify the way that these parts are divided. If you look at the edges of that second image that's on the screen, what you're going to actually see is that looks like a notch. Now, a lot of people previously would have modeled that, if it had to be modeled like that, as a curtain panel. Nothing wrong with that. But this allows you to model it as the wall, divide that, whether it's based on grids or whatever else, and apply an outline or a shape to this that meets what your needs are. So if you're trying to do a model that is more of a construction model, this is going to give you a lot more freedom in terms of what you're trying to present and create. Now, visualization. You've had the ability to do rendering in Revit for a while, and what they recently added to Revit was the realistic view. The nice thing about the realistic view is you can get an idea of what the view would look like when rendered without having to spend the time or the energy to actually render the view. Now, they've updated that so it includes RPCs, so you can actually see the rendered content. The thing is, it's still not a real rendering. What they've added this year is an actual ray tracing view. So if you look at it this way, you've got your old school colored view. And then you would actually look at your realistic view. That's one step above that. Now we have the ray tracing view. So you'll have better images, both day and night, so you can really see what's going to happen. What happens when you have lights in the room during day, during the evening? What happens if you have a decal, which is essentially an image in the view? How will that actually look when I render this? So if I want to do a rendering and I would like to get a quick preview at a good level of quality, this allows me to do that. Now, another thing is, let's say my computer is just barely running Revit as it is, or I have a lot of renderings to do and I need to keep working. I can't stop and let my computer sit here and render, otherwise I'm going to lose all my time for documentation. What Autodesk is doing is they've taken all of the different features that they've been trying to push for a while, and that were going to be online and consolidated them under the moniker Autodesk 360. So when you hear Autodesk 360, that's essentially their cloud family of software. Now, part of this is the rendering ability, and this is actually built into Revit right now. If you're on subscription, you have access to this and can take advantage of this. The real benefit of this is unlimited power when it comes to rendering. If you have one computer and you have to render an image, that image might take 2 to 3 hours to render. Now, let's say you have an office with 10 to 20 computers that are set up as a render farm. Okay, that rendering might take 15 to 20 minutes. If I send my rendering here, the image that I want, to Autodesk's cloud, that rendering might take 1 minute. So it's the thing where if you've got a render farm, that's great. It enhances the power that you have access to do your rendering, because it's not just one computer working on it. You've got 20 or however many you have. The thing is, you likely don't have hundreds or thousands at your disposal. So this is taking advantage of Autodesk's servers in the cloud, and they're running what they need to get you back your renderings. And it has a nice interface, and you can actually see the difference that this would take based on the display and the graphic level that you're looking for. It'll show you how much time you're actually saving. This takes us to collaboration, which is sort of where everything is coming together at. If I look at this, probably one of the biggest things that's new in terms of collaboration is one box. Now, some of you might have actually heard that term before. Now, what we're looking at here is a box shot of Revit Architecture. The thing is, one box actually is Revit. It's not Revit Architecture, it's not Revit MEP, it's not Revit Structure. It's all three of these combined together. So if you're using the design suite, so if you're on the building design suite, Premium or Ultimate, what you actually have access to is Revit. And you're going to have an architecture ribbon, a structure ribbon, and a systems ribbon. Now, this presentation is focused on Revit Architecture. So if you're on here and you're wondering why I'm actually talking about Revit Structure or Systems and how does that actually relate to you? You know, my business doesn't deal with that. Well, the thing is, if you're coordinating with somebody who is using that, this actually gives you some of the features. So let's say they're still giving you AutoCAD files, but you need to coordinate with something. I now have the ability to draw in a duct. So at least I can track it and coordinate it and make sure I'm clashing against that. Let's say you need to actually take advantage of a couple of features that for the last couple of years, those features were only available in another program. So if I wanted to do a filter based on selection, so I can grab 10 objects and say, I always want to filter based on those 10, but I don't want to have to pick them every time. That's something that's been in Revit Structure for quite a while, but was not available in Revit Architecture. Essentially, this is taking all of those tools and features and giving them to you now. Now, in addition to that, you have native file support. Now, what's that mean? If you've been using Revit for a while, you probably are still exporting out to AutoCAD for consultants or for documentation purposes. If you're sending this to get a rendering done, you're probably exporting this out to an FBX so that you can do a rendering in Max Design, or if you can do live walkthroughs or presentations as showcase. If you're doing collaboration with somebody, so you're working on a construction project and they're using Navisworks, you had to export to either DWF, which was quick but lacked certain data, or an NWC, which was very time-consuming but included a lot of information. All of these processes, like anything else, introduce chances where data is lost. They also tend to take a lot of time. And whenever there's a change, you have to update that export. Those exports don't happen automatically. What Autodesk focused on this year for a lot of things was understanding the native file support, so that these three programs that you see here can actually open up and access a native Revit RVP file. There's no exporting, there's no save as, there's no changing it. Just open up the file and go. If I open up that file in Navisworks, and if you were watching the previous presentation on Navisworks, you probably already saw this, it'll just open it up. It'll actually see grids now, so if you want to track information by grid, it can do that. You don't have to export to Navisworks by floor to manage the file size, because it automatically organizes things by the level. So it still gets all the data, it organizes it, and it actually shows you more than you had previously. 3D Max Design and Showcase can bring in your model, has all the materials, has all your lights, even has your views. So it saves a lot of time and streamlines your workflow when it comes to coordinating between different needs on the project. Now from that, I'm going to talk about Autodesk 360 for a second. So that's their cloud solution. Now the real benefit of this is the fact that you have one location with that infinite computing power. What you have access to is the rendering, that little tea kettle down there in the bottom. You have communication tools that you can have access to. You have web-based tools, so you can access your information wherever you are. If you actually upload the Revit files to the cloud storage, you can pull them down wherever you need, so you can use this as a method of sending people files in a secure format. You can also preview this file online as well. So let's say you're on a phone or a tablet somewhere on the job site. Well, I might not be able to open up Revit on that tablet. I can open up Design Review, which will show me the Revit model information, or I can just look at preview images that are inside of the Revit model that have been uploaded to that site. If I'm doing energy analysis, that's done in the cloud to speed up time. Same thing for structural analysis, right off the Revit model, and same thing for documentation. So this is tying all of Autodesk portfolio together and allowing you to access certain information and abilities regardless of where you are or what kind of a computer or tablet or device you actually have. So with that, what I'm actually going to do is move into the software. Okay. So here I am. I'm in a floor plan. What I'm choosing to work with for this presentation is one of the files that you actually get with Revit. So should you want to do this, you've already got the file. Now, again, I have a project here. I'm just coming into it. Maybe I'm new on the team. So they gave me a sheet and said, okay, I need you to pick up these red lines. You got to go to this view. And maybe there's 300 views in the project. I have no idea what the browser organizations are. I also have no idea where the view is. I think it's a floor plan or maybe an elevation, but beyond that, who knows? All I have to do here is right-click, and the first thing there is search. When I click on search, I just tell it what it is I'm looking for. So they told me I'm looking for something about the courtyard. So I type in court. Next, there's my building courtyard. So I can say close, previous, or even force it to match the case if need be. And then I'll find my building courtyard. So it's a very quick way for me to go into something and actually see what I'm working on. And all I'm doing is right-click, search, and then it finds my view. So nothing else besides that. Now, another thing from this is managing my views. So I mentioned before the ability to control what's happening. If I'm looking through my view here, one of the things I've always had is the ability to set my view template. But this actually has been enhanced. What I can see now is that this view is assigned the architectural plan view template. I can see that one view has this template assigned. And since this one is assigned it, I'm guessing that's the only one. Now, if you have a project and you're trying to make sure that all of your views are maintaining the right look, so the right line weight, the right detail level, the right things turned on and off, what I can actually do is go to my schedules, and I can actually track my entire project from here. I can see all the views that are in the project, and I can see the view template actually assigned to the view in my schedule now. So creating schedules and managing your views from this is nothing new, but seeing the view template in here is new. This is just a quick thing that you can do to make sure that before you plot or before you send out your PDFs, things actually are according to the way they should be. So what I'm going to do is switch gears for a second and start looking at some of the modeling. Now, this is just a regular stair, nothing that different. And when I select it, I can say Edit Stairs. What you're going to notice is that I'm actually in a 3D view, and I can still see my stair. I can still select it and see what's going on with this. This is not something that was there last year. When I select my stairs, I can see my counts, both at the beginning and end of each run. And I can grab this and just stretch these and modify everything that's happening here. So a lot more flexibility, a lot more ease of use, and a lot more control. And now I have the graphics here. So let's say I'm not really crazy about the way the graphics look. I can actually modify how all this looks. And if I look at the settings that I actually have, I have a lot more things that I can control. So the reason why you didn't like using stairs before was because you couldn't control their visibility or the way that they looked graphically. You actually have this control now. I can turn off everything above. I can modify the way things are looking when they cut. I can actually get rid of that cut or have a double cut there with a gap in between. And probably one of the biggest things here is when I draw my stair, I can do stairs by component now. Essentially, it's me just drawing a piece of a stair. And then I can set that up to do whatever it is that I want. So if you have a stair that has to go up and back and up again, essentially a 3-run stair, what you used to have to do is actually have to put in intermediate levels or a whole bunch of offsets. Now I can just model it. And if I wanted this railing to keep going, I'd either have to make a new railing if I only wanted the top portion, or have to have a custom post put on the end. Now I just hover, grab that piece, and I edit this. So just go in there, start drawing whatever I want this to be. And notice how I'm still in the sketch mode, but I'm able to actually see what happens before I finish. I didn't have to finish my sketch and then say, oh, that's not what I was looking for. I can just keep on modifying this and changing it, and it'll show me my preview so I can confirm that, yes, that is actually what I wanted this to look like. Again, I'm showing the features, not my ability as an architect. But these are little things I can do. And that little nub right there, if you're familiar with the old versions of Revit, that would have been a little bit of a mess. The new version also gives you more control and more abilities to handle little issues like this, where there's a little bit of a jump. So, change gears one more time, and I'm going to look at those parts. So, this right here are 2 parts of one wall. So that wall has been split. Same thing for here. Now, if this was going to be a precast corner, that wouldn't be 2 pieces necessarily. It might be 1. What I can do now is grab my parts and either exclude them or merge them, same as before. But now when I select these, I can tell it to merge. That's now 1 piece. So I can actually do a lot of things like that. I can even take a column, drop this in, make that a little bit taller. And what I can actually do is create a part and then divide that part. So if I wanted to, I could leave this as 1 column and then show this as individual pieces. And that way I can manage all of them from the original column that's essentially still there. So a lot of little things like that. Again, the key new features here, I wasn't focusing on all of them. There's a lot of new things inside of this. Documentation, ease of use, streamlining my workflow. So trying to cut time away from tasks that would just eat it up, and it wasn't useful. Content generation, this is allowing me to actually do the things that I've been thinking about without having to resort to workarounds or having to do excess work to get something that in many cases was a simple change, but you have to do extra things. Visualization is taking advantage of what you've already modeled and not having to redo it over and over again, whether that's using the ability from the collaboration where I'm sending it to the cloud, or I'm just opening that file up natively in Navisworks inside of Max, inside of Showcase. So the main things here, and the biggest one is the collaboration, because they're trying to make sure that regardless of what you're using, it actually has a clean and smooth and efficient workflow. Now, Revit is part of the Building Design Suite, and when you buy it as a design suite, you're going to be getting Revit. Not necessarily Revit Architecture, but just Revit. That gives you all of the features of the 3 different disciplines. You can also buy Revit Architecture on its own. Now, this was focusing on the key features. What we're going to be doing is having a more in-depth webcast in May that's going to go through all of the new features. So a little bit more techy. This is supposed to be a little bit more higher level. So with that, I'm going to hand this back over to Mike.
Thank you so much, Peter. Great job. Obviously, a lot of compelling new capabilities and features in Revit Architecture 2013 and in the 2013 Building Design Suites, both the Premium and the Ultimate. One thing that I will mention about the Premium and Ultimate Design Suites is that they have substantially increased the amount of storage space and the amount of computing power that you have access to when you're working in the cloud. As you can see, again, for more information on Revit Architecture 2013 and the Building Design Suite, you can log on to webinars in May. You can find the schedule of those webinars at microdesk.com at the link that you see there. And if you're interested in more immediate information, please don't hesitate to contact us. You can reach us at the phone number and or the email address that you see on the slide. And we're going to move to the next slide, hopefully. Okay. So again, the 3 key things that we want you to take away from Revit Architecture 2013 and the overall Autodesk 2013 product line is, again, how well integrated these products are. Interoperability. When you think about the fact that we can now open an RVD file directly in Navisworks, we can open that file directly in Max Design or in Showcase. That's a significant increase in our productivity and what we've been able to do in the past. Again, on the collaboration side, when we bring in the cloud technology, the ability to push a model to the cloud and access it from pretty much any kind of device, anywhere that we need it, and then combine that with some of the offerings that you'll see coming out from Autodesk in the coming months that provide us the power of doing coordination, conflict detection, virtual coordination meetings, all using cloud-based technology. I think that you'll agree that it's a pretty compelling suite of products. So again, thank you for attending. I hope that you find the full suite of Autodesk 2013 as compelling as we do. We have another session coming up on Revit MEP 2013 at 1 o'clock, so if you're interested, please join us. Again, thanks for attending and have a great day. Bye-bye.